It is October 1914, and Europe is interlocked in the Great War. Observing the Europeans slaughtering each other, the declining Ottoman Empire's government was happy to sit on the sidelines, yearning for peace after a bloody decade of wars in the Balkans and North Africa. Except not everyone in the Ottoman government wished for peace. The Machiavellian young Turk Minister of War, Enver Pasha, conspiring with the German Empire, had been planning an attack on Russia for weeks. On the 29th of October 1914, and after relentless German pressure, Enver Pasha let slip the dogs of war, 2 German battle cruisers, raising the Ottoman flag, supported by the Sultan's navy, attacked port cities in the Russian Black Sea. The ports of Sevastopol, Odessa, Yalta, and other vital Russian cities were attacked without warning, causing damage to facilities, merchant vessels, and oil storages. This attack fanned the flames of the Ottoman Empire's entry into the First World War, and, as such, forever changed the history of the Middle East. This is the historiographer, and in this video, we will discover the history of the Black Sea Raid, a decision which was perhaps the Ottoman Empire's worst blunder, directly contributing to its fracture. It was also an attack that, despite its immense historical consequences on the Middle East and beyond, became largely forgotten in the conscience of the Western and even the Eastern world. The unfortunate assassination of Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand by Serbian nationalist Gavrilo Princip on the 28th of June 1914 set off a chain of events for the nerve-wracking following month of July 1914. In the midst of these muddy waters, the Ottoman Empire sought an alliance with a great power, but their efforts seemed to be in vain. The Germanophile Ottoman War Minister, Enver Pasha, proposed an alliance to the German ambassador in Constantinople on July 22, 1914, only to face rejection. However, fate intervened when Kaiser Wilhelm overruled his ambassador just 2 days later. As the July crisis reached its climax post the assassination of the Austrian heir to the throne, war clouds continued to gather over Europe. Germany, which backed Austria's position versus Serbia, itself allied to her big mother Russia, found itself on the brink of a two-front war with Russia and its ally, France, both backing Serbia's position. Seizing this chance, the Ottomans swiftly drafted an alliance proposal and delivered it to Berlin on July 28, 1914, the very day World War I erupted with Austria's incursion into Serbia. With tensions mounting, the Germans hesitated to further make military commitments. Nevertheless, German Chancellor Theobald von Bethmann authorized his ambassador to sign the agreement, but only if the Ottoman Empire would, quote, undertake action against Russia worthy of its name. Thus was forged the secret Ottoman-German alliance on the 2nd of August, 1914. However, this pact did not immediately plunge the Ottomans into war as Germany had hoped. The treaty's wording obligated Germany to oppose any foreign infringements on Ottoman territory, particularly by Russia, and placed no such obligations on the Turks. After realizing his aims, a hugely advantageous alliance with Germany, a happy Enver Pasha later said, "The plans of all the powers have always been entirely selfish. For years, Russia has threatened Constantinople, while the English have endeavored to keep us just strong enough to prevent Russia from realizing its ambitions." Finally, the Kaiser arrived. Russia would wipe us off the map. England would keep us weak. But Germany, only Germany, would make us strong. Sadece Almanya bizi güçlendirecek. As the first months of the war unfolded, a dramatic naval chase ensued in the Mediterranean between the Kriegsmarine and the Royal Navy. The German battle cruiser SMS Goeben and light cruiser SMS Breslau found themselves pursued by the full might of the Royal Navy and the Marine Nationale, as they made a daring dash for Ottoman waters. Their commander, Admiral Wilhelm Souchon, decided to head towards the Ottoman Empire despite conflicting orders to return to the fatherland, knowing full well that turning back would mean destruction by the massive British and French fleets. The arrival of these German ships in Ottoman waters set off another unfortunate chain of diplomatic maneuvers and deceptions which had catastrophic consequences on the fate of the declining empire. The Ottoman government, in an attempt to maintain the facade of neutrality, proposed the fictitious purchase of the German vessels. After initial resistance, Germany reluctantly agreed to the scheme, and on August 16, the ships were formally integrated into the Ottoman Navy, their crews now donning new uniforms and swearing allegiance to their new flag, the flag of WW1. As the chess pieces of the war continued to move across the European board, the Ottomans found themselves increasingly drawn towards the German sphere. With Russia's early failures against Germany and the alleviation of the immediate threats from the Balkans, the stage was set for a dramatic shift in Ottoman foreign policy. Enver Pasha, sensing the changing tides of war, began to steer the empire away from its defensive stance towards a more aggressive posture. As autumn descended upon the Ottoman Empire in 1914, a clandestine plot began to happen. In mid-September, Enver Pasha, the ambitious war minister, granted Admiral Souchon permission to conduct naval maneuvers in the Black Sea. The aim of the war minister was to force a naval engagement with the Russians to spin off the encounter as a Russian aggression on Ottoman national waters. However, this daring move was swiftly countered by the Ottoman naval minister himself, who strictly forbade any such action. Therefore, the Ottoman cabinet found itself embroiled in heated debates over the next few days. Tensions reached a boiling point when Souchon, furious at the withdrawal of his authorization, shamelessly began to berate the Ottoman Grand Vizier who opposed war. In a dramatic confrontation, he threatened to take matters into his own hands, driven by what he called the conscience of a military officer, saying, "I might take action myself and behave as dictated by the conscience of a military officer. You all have a faithless and indecisive behavior. Ihr seid alle unentschlossen und treulos." As the political chess game intensified, Enver made a bold move on September 24th, appointing Souchon as the commander-in-chief of the Ottoman Navy. This was followed by the sudden closure of the Dardanelles to foreign shipping, a decision that sent shockwave throughout the Russian economy, given that 90% of Russian exports relied on the Bosphorus Straits. Behind closed doors, Enver worked tirelessly to build a pro-war coalition within the government. His efforts succeeded when he secured the support of key figures like Mehmed Talat, one of the three leaders of the Ottoman quasi-dictatorship led by Cemal, Enver, and Talat Pasha. On October 22, 1914, Enver covertly presented his plans for bringing the Ottoman Empire into war to the German ambassador. With German approval secured, Enver gave Admiral Souchon the green light to attack Russian ships only if a suitable opportunity presented itself. Enver had originally envisioned an encounter at sea in which the Ottomans would claim self-defense, but Admiral Souchon conceived a direct assault on Russian ports. The German would later say that his intention was to force the Turks, even against their will, to spread the war. The stage was now set for a fateful confrontation. On October 27th, under the guise of routine maneuvers, the Ottoman fleet set sail for the Black Sea. The Ottoman-German admiral, driven by his desire to force the Ottomans into war, had conceived a daring plan to launch direct assaults on Russian ports, going directly against the commands of the Ottoman war minister, who merely wished for a naval confrontation at sea. As dawn broke on the 29th of October 1914, the Ottoman fleet unleashed a series of surprise attacks on Russian coastal cities. In Odessa, Ottoman destroyers struck rapidly, sinking a Russian gunboat and wreaking havoc on the port's infrastructure. Meanwhile, the powerful Yavuz Sultan Selim, formerly the escaped German battlecruiser Goeben, escorted by two other destroyers, fired upon shore batteries on Sevastopol, bombarding the precious Russian port with its guns. The Ottoman force retreated after the batteries fired back and hit Yavuz 3 times. Afterwards, many different Ottoman warships scored raids on the Russians. The raids continued along the coast, with Ottoman ships striking Feodosia, Yalta, and Novorossiysk. As the smoke cleared and the Ottoman fleet returned to their home waters, the Ottoman press cheered and spun a tale of justified retaliation against Russian aggression, claiming that the Russian Black Sea Fleet was preparing a treacherous attack on Constantinople. However, in private, and as Russian losses were so few, the German military officers present expressed disappointment at the limited strategic gains of the operation. The Black Sea, therefore, once a place of commerce and connection, had now become a theater of war, its waters soon to be stained with the blood of two ancient rivals, interlocked in a global conflict. In the wake of the audacious Black Sea raid, a political storm erupted in Istanbul. The Grand Vizier and his cabinet, realizing Enver's complicity in the attack, found themselves caught in a battle of accusations and threats of resignation. In a desperate bid to maintain stability, they forced Enver to wire a ceasefire order to Admiral Souchon and hastily drafted a sincere apology to Russia. Meanwhile, across the Mediterranean, the British government, oblivious to the true nature of the internal Ottoman strife, believed they faced a unified Turco-German conspiracy. The British Empire issued an ultimatum, demanding the removal of German influence from the Ottoman military. This demand would fall on deaf ears, as the Ottoman leadership grappled with its own internal crisis. As tensions mounted, Winston Churchill, the warmongering First Lord of the Admiralty, had already decided his next move. Without waiting for full cabinet approval, he ordered British forces to commence hostilities against the Ottoman Empire in the Aegean Sea. Back in Istanbul, Enver Pasha feared that the Russian Empire might accept the Ottoman apology and derail his plans for war. He had, however, one final trick up his sleeve. Just before the apologetic message was dispatched to Petrograd, he clandestinely inserted a provocative passage accusing Russia of instigating the attack, all without the knowledge nor the approval of the Ottoman government. This cunning manipulation effectively torpedoed any chance of a peaceful resolution. As November dawned, the situation spiraled rapidly out of control. British forces struck Ottoman merchant vessels off the coast of Izmir, while Russia, enraged by the altered apology, finally declared war on the Ottoman Empire on the 3rd of November. The Russian Black Sea Fleet wasted no time in retaliating, launching a fierce bombardment on Ottoman Black Sea cities. To add insult to injury, British warships opened fire on the Dardanelles forts, signaling the beginning of the Gallipoli campaign, a campaign that would become one of the most infamous episodes of the war. Within days, both Britain and France had formally declared war on the aging empire. The final act of this political drama unfolded on November 11th, when the Ottoman government at last formally declared war on the Triple Entente: France, Britain, and Russia. In a move laden with religious and cultural significance, Sultan Mehmed V issued a call for jihad, appealing to both Sunni and Shia Muslims to unite against the Western powers. Thus, in a matter of days, what had begun as a covert naval raid exploded into full-scale war, drawing the Ottoman Empire into the tornado of the Great War. In conclusion, while often overlooked, the Ottoman Black Sea raid's significance in reshaping modern history cannot be understated. This event drew the declining Ottoman Empire into the First World War, ultimately leading to its defeat and fracture. What followed the collapse was a power vacuum in the Middle East that remains a source of regional instability to this day. It led to the partition of the Ottoman territories by European powers, resulting in the creation of new nation-states, with often arbitrary borders. Furthermore, the raid indirectly contributed to two major developments: the birth of the Turkish nation-state and the realization of the Zionist project. The former emerged from the ashes of the Ottoman Empire, while the latter was made possible by the British victory in Palestine and the subsequent Balfour Declaration. These outcomes of World War I, set in motion by the Black Sea raid, have profoundly shaped Middle Eastern geopolitics for over a century. Today, ongoing struggles for power, identity, and territory in the region can, in many ways, be traced back to this pivotal moment in history. If you like this video, then consider subscribing to spread history. This has been the Historiographer, and for now, see you in the next video.